Good afternoon and good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing and another installment of Council of the Ones Babylon 5 review. And hope you all are having a great week. It is Friday. We have finally reached the end of the week for a lot of us. Tomorrow is my last day for a couple of days. But back with you all today and back with the Council, my friends Elysium, Mountains of Elysium, Fiona Wolf, and Lord Goj. Guys, my friends, my fellow council members, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. That's disgusting.
No,
I was
somebody
about to pull it off. I can throw it at you.
somebody lend me a pair of new lungs. Whee!
No, I got headphones, so I can't give the ears.
Oh, there you go, digital.
But anyway, oh Lord. Okay, we are not going to go. This is not going to turn into another goof fest like it did last week. Maybe a little.
No, I think that was special for last week, in particular for that episode.
Yeah.
What is the consistency of many various spoons?
Nope.
No.
We're not bringing up that word. That is a bad word. That word is forbidden. No.
Let's say it has expired.
Yes.
So that's how the Centauri like it.
No, my little commentary only mentioned a line or two of that, then I moved along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway, today we're diving into the episode Learning Curve, and this is a rather interesting episode, to say the least. We get a really all right, chat. You forced my hand. You brought this on yourselves. You have no one to blame but yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You made me drop the hammer.
You know what? I wonder if there's a Hammerhead kind of warship in the Babylon 5 universe. Maybe I'll take a look at some of the RPG supplements.
Okay, all right. Drake Tungsten, you get a pass because that actually is a reference to one of my all-time favorite shows from the 90s, The Tick. So, Drake, you get a pass on that one. So, anyway, as I was saying, today we're diving into the episode Learning Curve. And for a lot of people, there is a very drastic learning curve, particularly for one individual who actually is making a cameo appearance from the Mortal Kombat universe. And that, of course, is the actor who played Kano in the Superior. There is only one. There can only be one. Kano. Anyway,
Oh, yeah. Also, he was in Jag.
Yes, he was. But yes, there is only... There can be only one Mortal Kombat, just like there can be only one.
Ambassador, thank you so much for saying that, because that is top tier. Amen. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So
Probably
anyway.
One of the funny things about this episode is, hey, Pakmara Rangers can be useful because people always bypass them. They like the
they smell because they smell like rotten 10-year-old spoo.
I mean, their diet is crazy, so it makes sense.
That and everybody's like they're like the walking, talking lepers of various societies because they're like, ew, Pakmara, what?
Well, here's the crazy thing. Every major science fiction universe has like a tentacled race. So if you think about it, for Star Wars, it was the Quarrens. For Babylon 5, it was the Pakmara. I don't know if Star Trek has a tentacled alien species.
Maybe they were too unhygienic to be on the ship. I don't know.
Well, all I know is that there always seems to be the one species where everybody's like, they're not really there, even though they're there. Like the ultimate outcasts, or like the people that everybody just ignores because they're like window dressing.
Right. So, but anyway, yeah, today we get a little deep dive. We get a little confrontation. Okay, a little confrontation. We get a big confrontation between Mr. Garibaldi and Captain Lockley. And we've got this guy who thinks he is the new head of crime on B5, and well, he gets his ass handed to him, and all sorts of other fun shenanigans ensue on the station. So, again, my friends, I say, where would you like to begin? So, floor is open. Let's go.
Dylan finds out what Lockley's connections to her husbando is. Like, wait, it's another former wife?
That's right.
Like, what? What? Wait, how many people have you married before me? What?
I'm just going to say
But in a way, we don't really find out technically. We just, because they kind of leave it ambiguous, because I think they saved that reveal for Garibaldi, right? Like, verbally.
Yeah, eventually, but Dylan's starting to catch on. Like what? I'm kind of displeased. Like, what? Like, I already know you had one crazy wife that fell to the shadows. What about this one? What?
I have to facepalm myself because I'm like, Sheridan, you know your wife, your love is smart as heck, smarter than you. Why would you hold back on this? This is huge. He was a total stereotypical guy here, I think. Because the look on his face said it all when he was slowly closing the door. Because you knew he knew, and he knew he had to know.
Yep, and Sheridan had to tell Dylan exactly what was up, because otherwise it would have put a damper on things.
Yes,
It already did put a damper on things.
I was just saying, I think every husband has had that look on his face at some point. I know I have.
Although I think
no.
I wonder
I've never
For reasons, but I walked in going, I'm in trouble.
I wonder how long I don't think they were married a few months, and then Lockley and Sheridan broke it off, and then Sheridan met, Sheridan wife 2.0.
Yeah, that's what
With
happened.
Anna.
They mentioned that in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, can I just say this? Wouldn't it technically be wife 3.0? Because, okay, I'm just going to say that. No, okay. 2.0/3.0, because here's the thing. If y'all remember, they changed the actress of who Anna Sheridan was.
Oh, yeah, that little continuity.
Do we forget? Have we forgotten that already? Where she goes from a somewhat brunette and with a very pronounced Southern drawl to Melissa Gilbert?
But it's the same character, because even in Batman, we had Harvey Dent, Billy D. Williams, and then he turned into Tommy Lee Jones in the third one.
Yeah, I still.
I'd have to look back at some of the episodes, but I think they only changed the other lady's face into Melissa Gilbert in the flashback portion. I don't think they actually changed it in the season, like season 2 or something.
Well, essentially,
it's like we have two Natats.
Oh yeah, and then there's Kodak that got thrown out the airlock. Oops. So yeah, poor Sheridan has a couple of skeletons. But it makes you wonder how many waifus does he have in his background, really?
Okay, I was aware of this. DJ Ronnie G says I did not. Also, Sheridan's parents changed. Did his parents change at all?
Oh, did they?
I don't think the dad did. Maybe the mom?
Yeah, but do we ever?
I don't remember the mom.
I don't even think we ever met the mom.
There was that one flashback when he was infected with that being that had to go through the rip, and it showcased his parents for a moment, reaching out to him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, both I have to rewatch
dad
that.
And the mom. So, but I think he's right though. I think the parents had, or at least the dad was changed from the actor. But yeah, he was having those visions a while back.
I know that Nathot was played by 2 different actresses as well. Was it Caitlin Brown and Mary Kay Adams? So there is history within.
Yes, it's like, which kind of actresses could come back? Flashback.
Which is weird because we do see the actress for Nathot from season 1 come back as a human in season 2 for one episode. She was like some attorney, and then she comes back later in season 5. So it had to be a schedule thing. She was fantastic first Nathot, which I think the first Anna Sheridan was fantastic too.
Yeah, and DJ Ronnie G, if this is your first visit to the council, welcome. I appreciate you tuning in this afternoon. And I hope you enjoy the stream. So, and yeah, Colin, I do remember that vaguely. I remember hearing about him because he also had a cameo role in, well, not so much a cameo. He had the small part in the first Pirates, the Caribbean's first Pirates of the Caribbean, the Curse of the Black Pearl movie. He was a pirate. So, I think Valhalla sent me. Okay. No idea what that means, but okay. So, let's see. But yeah, honestly, well, let's be honest here. When it comes to minor characters, the actor or actress changing, this is something that happens all the time. And it doesn't, in some instances, yeah, does it break continuity? Yeah, but it just depends on the fan and the person. Are we going to get majorly bent out of shape because of this or that happening? No. So, and we've got our first bot of the afternoon, of course.
Wait, more Russian bots?
Yeah.
Beep boop.
It's okay. I got
It's
it.
been happening on mine
I've
too.
bought hammered
I
him.
reported it.
I've bought hammered him anyway, so
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. But you know what? It is. I think this episode shows an interesting side of the Ranger training too. But I'm honestly kind of surprised they didn't bring Lanier for part of this. But I guess they just wanted to showcase more greener kind of characters. And Lanier's not really a beginner character either. So.
But for Rangers, I don't know. He might be in a different class.
Yeah, because he does have some
class. Because these people seem like they're new, but they've been at it maybe like a junior class. Definitely not a freshman or something.
Yeah.
Because they're being taken into the field. That's pretty huge.
And also to the chat, a very familiar face, Bureau 31. Bureau, it's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping by. Well, and the thing that I really enjoyed about this episode is we get a real deep dive into how training for the Rangers goes. And I honestly, that's the part of this episode that I really found interesting. And, the fact that their training is, I want to say, somewhat unorthodox. And also, Delenn comes up with a very interesting solution for the whole Pak Marat issue. And the two sects, Sek Terval and Sek Durhan, they're both very accommodating. Obviously, they have to be because Delenn is Intel's off. She's the head. So, but
they did promise that they would open up the Ranger stuff to everybody in the Interstellar Alliance, and that includes the Pak Marat.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I find it interesting as well that the Pak Marat would be, even just one Pak Marat would be willing to become a Ranger, because they really don't know what they're getting themselves into per se. But all the same, it shows a great level of inclusion, and it shows a lot of, and Jeff, good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping by. Appreciate you taking care of the bots, my friend. So hope you're having a good day. Let's see. And I'll bring up Beer 31's comment here. Let's see. We've already considered using them as garbage disposals, but there are some things that even the Pak Marat won't eat. We think, yes, we haven't actually discovered what that is yet. Yeah, Colin, good point there. It was Durhan who also taught both Marcus and Nerun. Yep.
Yeah, that does come out in that City of Sorrows book a bit, like some of Marcus's training, and so.
That's one of the good ones. I love that book.
Oh yeah. Well, the interesting thing for me, as I was saying, was them. We really we don't get as deep of a dive, but we do get a decent one into the mindset of some of the Rangers, why they're there. I mean, we even open the episode on the Rangers going through meditation. DJ, yeah,
Yeah.
unless it's good and dead for a week. So, but that's
Like Spoo.
that's not Elysium.
Well,
No.
the internet. It's the internet, isn't it? Yes.
So,
Yes.
but the interesting thing for me was we get a little bit of what ranger training is like through Marcus, but in this episode we get a good sense of what ranger training is about. It's not just combat or infiltration. It's really a resetting of a person's mind and their mentality, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Well,
I
that and
agree.
they made the one trainee go back and face his fear, because he got beat up pretty badly.
Yeah. Let's see, Mora Dome, the
Yeah.
terror.
Murdo.
And I like that. It's kind of like, because one seemed more warrior cast and one seemed more religious, and it seemed like they both had to go on a journey to test what they're weakest in, like the making calls and judgments and philosophy was kind of challenged by the warrior one, and then the religious guy, he had to face the combat side of things and be tested there. Like they both had their own forms of terror, as Minbari say, that they had to face all their weaknesses. So I think the training is more like to help them make judgment calls in a moral basis, and I like that.
Well, and it's.
And I like the fact that I'm right about dying a meaningless death. Oh, sorry.
Say that again, Elysium.
Sorry, I think I might have been cutting out. I think he was worried he'd be dying a meaningless death, and I like what is it?
Oh yeah.
Duran said, "No. If you live your life by your principles, your death and your life will have meaning, no matter what it is." And that is a perfect way of looking at it, whether it is a big gesture or a small act.
Which kind of ties into
to climb the mountain tower.
Oh, yep. It kind of ties into the fact that Lita had to do that deathbed scan with the other ranger. So that kind of ties in with that part of the training too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that's like, very martial arts driven.
Yes. And, that's, I will say this. I like how the training for the Rangers is structured. I almost like it better than how Jedi are trained.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, with the Jedi, they are shutting themselves off to all emotion except maybe positive or passive emotion. And that can be very crippling. And it's something that I address in my story that I wrote. And it's always been a critique that I always had, because if you think about it, if you're creating an order of semi-paramilitary, highly advanced, extremely powerful individuals, you don't want them cut off from their emotions, because it can cripple them to a degree. Instead, with the Rangers, they don't cripple them emotionally, but they help them to harness and control, but not deprive themselves of their emotions. And that is something I think is a lot more practical in the long run.
I have to agree with you there, because I felt the same thing, because as a Star Wars and Babylon 5 fan, I did see the difference with Unlashok and Jedi/Sith, because I felt like, and I think the main point of the Star Wars classic story was that difference. Like, I just felt like Jedi focused too much on one spectrum, Sith was too much on the other. But when it comes to Unlashok, I feel like they focus primarily on balance and what is necessary for the right thing.
Yes.
Like what Luke was. Luke is the balance of the Force.
Yes.
I honestly think they took more cues from older style Arthurian legend when it comes to the Rangers, and kind of mixed it with like Buddhist monks.
Yeah, that's a martial arts side. It's like knights. It's like Western knights meets like Shaolin Kung Fu on the East. It's like that balance, I feel.
No, yeah,
and they
yeah,
fight with both staffs. It's like, wow.
no, yeah,
And they fight with
honestly.
both staffs. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and Koj, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and Fiona, you as well. Go ahead, Elysium.
I was going to say sorry, my internet keeps cutting in and out. They remind me too
All
of the
right.
warriors from Irish history, where they were the Fianna. They had to learn martial arts, but they also had to learn intellect. They had to learn the law. They had to learn balance. They had to learn joy, happiness, how to fight great numbers, small numbers. It seems very similar to the Rangers, that it's the Rangers learn how to apply the dark side without being ruled by it,
Well, yeah,
and understanding it.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, Elysium. Go ahead.
So that we hear back when Marcus talks about the Mara Doom in previous episodes, he says, no, you don't want to know about it because it is terrible. It's not something they enjoy doing or something is good, but it's something they understand is necessary. Like here, it's you not but to give the victim power over his fear.
Well, yeah, and that's and that's something else or anything. This honestly, this episode was very smartly written by JMS, obviously, and I think that he pulled a little bit of influence, or when I say influence, he pulled a little bit of inspiration from certain aspects of the Dune universe. Because if you think about how the Bene Gesserit are trained, and you remember that little prayer that Paul and Jessica always say, "I will not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total destruction. But I will face my fear. I will allow it to pass through me, and when it is gone, only I remain." And I think there's a certain aspect of that in this episode with the Mora Doom. And honestly, that for me is that's a really fascinating thing, because if you think about it, in life, we often have fears that can paralyze us. We have fears or concerns or worries or anxieties that can quite literally cripple us, not just psychologically, but in some instances physiologically. And for these new recruits, these new Rangers, particularly the two that are involved in the Mora Doom, particularly the one that was assaulted by Trace and his bunch, he has to face his fears, or he will no longer be able to remain among their ranks, and he will remain broken in their from their perspective. And I think there's truth in that, because if we just decide to wallow in our own concerns and our own fears and our own anxieties, then they will rule us, and ultimately we will not be a whole person. So I think that one Ranger going through the Mora Doom was very powerful, but it was also a very interesting commentary from JMS, from Straczynski, about the power of fear, about the power of terror, and overcoming both of those. So, Elysium, Koj, Fiona, your thoughts?
I honestly think the Ranger Order has a
I was
little
just
bit.
thinking how it works. The Ranger who
Yep, yeah, go for it. Because I know your internet's like dip a dip.
Oh, no, sorry. No, the Ranger who's faces it here. I can't think of his name. He is in Legend of the Rangers. He's captain of a White Star and is asked. I won't spoil it, but he's heavily involved. It builds him into a much stronger and better Ranger, capable of facing greater things than he would have had he given into fear.
Yeah. True.
I linked it into the chat, but I think the Rangers also have elements of the Teutonic Order, where they were a voluntarily, military order, and they helped protect, pilgrims and other people, going through the Holy Lands and everything like that. And they also established like hospitals wherever they went. It seems like the Rangers, do something similar. they'll establish like little beachheads that people can coalesce around. If only just to protect, the common people. So I just found that interesting.
Well, yeah, honestly, with a lot of different religious orders, and well, I mean, if you even look at, say, some of the monastic orders that existed and do still exist, and I'm talking both from, well, when I say monastic, I'm speaking more so to the Christian understanding of that. But if you even look at the Shaolin monks and the Tibetan monks and so on, those particular orders of monks, they really focus on a life centered around balance, the balance of one's mind, the balance of one's body, the balance of one's soul. And I think that honestly is a really cool concept to become a part of, because honestly, and I think it's something that we all can learn from, because as hectic and as crazy as our lives can be, more often than not, it wouldn't hurt to necessarily take a page from the books of those orders and find our own balance in life.
Well, to be older shows like Babylon 5 did incorporate more westernized, mythology and basic fables and parables, and that's an element I think that's missing in a lot of today's stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed. A cool note on Shaolin monks, this bonus, is that they are allowed to have relationships and marry.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. And I always wonder, I think rangers are allowed to have relationships and marry as well. I'm not sure, but I think so. Maybe you guys can confirm that.
I think, honestly, I think so, just because Marcus said he was waiting to propose to the right person.
Right, exactly. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. For the Minbari, life is all about connection. And about community and about family and about finding the other half of yourself. No, let's see. I'll bring up your comment here, Colin. One second. Rangers look for it. They cannot be seen, listened for. They cannot be heard. And as a final test, they have to walk barefoot over sugar paper and not leave a trace.
That's very ninja.
That is, yeah. And honestly, Colin, I was over. Oh, do they?
Yeah, and what's funny is the Pakmara have a natural invisibility shield because nobody wants to pay attention to them. So
no,
Lynn is right in that aspect. They were good information gatherers just because of that.
You could make the inference that the Pakmara have a biological cloaking device. Think about it. They really think that's kind of the terminology I'm using. Obviously, this isn't a real thing.
But no, it's just that so many people they just don't notice them out of habit that they really would make good rangers and couriers because nobody would molest them.
Exactly.
They got the power of invisibility in plain sight.
That's true. And good grief, Elysium, really hot shots part, dude. Not to mention, but I'll just say this: I love that movie. I love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
Oh hell yeah!
The Rangers were celibate, like their fathers and their fathers before them. Well, if they were celibate, they wouldn't have a father.
The Rangers would have to take in a bunch of orphans.
Oh, and then there's that Batman route, or Jedi.
No, that would mean they would have to fight in slow motion. One of the sex would have half ping pong balls. Marcus would have been played by David Carradine.
Oh
Wait.
no.
Are we gonna start getting into Kung Pao? Enter the Fist?
I think you mean Kung Fu.
No. The other. There was the other parody. Chosen
Yeah,
One.
Kung
was
Pao is
thinking
the parody of Kung Fu films.
Yes.
Yeah, Kung Pao, Enter the Fist is. Hey, Vienna. But
E.
Vienna, don't poke the bear.
You know what? By the way, there's this old film called American Shaolin. It came out in the
I've heard of
80s.
it. I think
It's
I've
a
heard of it.
fantastic film, and this American kid goes to China, and he joins a Shaolin temple. And for a while, he was rejected. He just waited, and then they accepted him. But they go through the whole training, and he goes through this cave where he's supposed to face all his fears, and it's all this wooden dummies that are controlled by mechanics, and it's just striking him. But what's cool is that they show him going in, and he gets caught, and he's like, I can't do it, and then he's like just getting choked out by something, and then they show the outside, and after a while he comes out, looks back in shock at him like waking up and getting through it all. But it's cool. They show the whole training. They even show that they have these logs going up, and then you have to walk on top of them. And they use them in other movies too. But that comes from the Shaolin training, and it's just kind of cool. And I always imagine like Rangers had to go through something similar like that as part of their training and mind and body tests.
Yeah. So, and I want to send a shout out to a good friend of the channel, LDG of Geeks and Joy. LDG, good to see you, man. Chilling in the waiting room, checking on see who's streaming. Well, hi, I'm streaming. It's Friday afternoon. I'm always streaming unless I'm not. So, LDG, good to see you, man. And LDG, I'll be in touch with you in a day or so. Anything about that thing I DM'd you about. So, but hey, folks, if you're looking for just a cool place to hang out when nobody else is streaming, like us, head on over to LDG of Geeks and Joy. He has got a really solid channel, and he's got this thing called the Waiting Room, the stream between streams where it's a lot more fun than watching paint dry. So when we're done here, go over, jump into the chat or jump on the panel with LDG, tell him the ambassador sent you, and above all else, behave yourselves, because he is a friend, and I don't want a bunch of ruffians going in there and giving him grief. So, but still, LDG is a good friend, and it's always good to have you. Good to have you here, bud. So,
Yeah.
Cheers.
I just popped this link in the chat.
Thank you, Elysium. Appreciate it. So,
anyone who wants to check him out,
Woo!
Yeah.
Fiona.
Well, we'll kind of we'll move along to the other topic of the episode, and that's of course the conflict between Mr. Garibaldi and Captain Lockley.
Oh yes, the what is it? Kind of like two bulls rushing each other, because Lockley and Garibaldi have a lot of similar traits.
Yeah,
Yep.
They're both hard-headed. They're both stubborn. They're both opinionated. They're both.
They both got used by the bad side in the war, basically.
That's true.
Yep.
I didn't think about that aspect.
You are correct, madam. Yes.
So that's why Garibaldi's super worried, because he's like, if he got mind borked by Bester into basically almost screwing the pooch, then what did Lockley do in her time with the Clark regime?
One thing I liked about Lockley is, though she stood up to Garibaldi in the canteen, when she told Sheridan about it, she didn't throw him under the bus. She said, no. She basically defended Garibaldi, that he was right to ask. And I like that about her, that she didn't, she could have used her position. Garibaldi clearly was in the wrong, but she didn't use that against him.
Well, no, and even when she was in the elevator with Sheridan, she's like, no, I was able to handle it. And he's like, yep, I kind of figured you would, because that conversation kind of lets you know that they knew each other on a more personal level before he really revealed the bomb to Lynn.
Yeah.
And then some of the fallout of that hits the next episode, really. But yeah.
But I think that's great, because this is probably the best working relationship or personal relationship Lockley and Sheridan can have, because I feel like they're both pilots, and there's only one steering wheel in the car of whatever they need to do, and they can't choose who's going to be a pilot at the same time. So if they have this professional working relationship, they trust that they could do the right thing and not overstep each other. And I like that Lockley is always focused on what's fair. I noticed that that's like kind of like her motto or code. She always focuses on giving everyone, even Bester, a fair chance, but she's smart to see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Bester definitely tries to get Lockley to kind of be like a cat's paw in some ways, and Lockley shuts that stuff down so quick. Oh boy, because I think in a way Byron and his bunch probably would have tried something similar, just through a different avenue, but she kind of knocks them, back too, or at least down a peg, because really they asked for sanctuary on the station, so if they abuse that, she has every right to kick them to the curb.
Yes. And shout out to the chat also. Price is Right reviews. Price, good to see you, man. And yeah, we're doing okay. And here's the thing. Go ahead, Fiona.
I want to, looking at the chat, I want to say probably Corin got a rank up again, like near the end of season 5. I want to say they eventually got him to that point.
I think it's implied he becomes like gets Ivanova's position, like number 2 on the station when they leave, but it's not stated within the show itself.
Yeah, the Objects in Motion and Objects at Rest episodes, I think implied pretty heavily, that he eventually ranked up and then took the second position.
Well, he earned it considering everything he went through.
Yep, and he even managed to stay loyal to Earth Force without compromising stuff to Clark faction,
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing. When you've got a dynamic like Sheridan and Lockley, and even Sheridan, Lockley, and Delenn, and if you noticed, Lockley and Delenn, they got along. And as far as I remember, they continued to get along even after the revelation of the fact that her and John were involved before he even met Anna. And I think that speaks very strongly to Delenn's character, but I think it also speaks very strongly to Lockley's. Because I think she may have taken it a little bit on the chin. She might have gotten a little... I can't remember. I'll have to... Well, obviously, I'll rewatch that episode.
I think it's because Delenn could see how much Lockley's like Sheridan in some ways.
Yes, that is true.
Because they're both kind of like married to their job. Even though Sheridan's not really in Earth Force anymore, he still has that mindset.
Well, once you're in the military, even if you leave after you leave it, that training and that discipline and that mindset is so ingrained that it's really hard to it's hard to break and it's hard to lose. I think we lost Koj. There he is.
Had to reset. Y'all were starting to sound like Decepticons. It's on my end. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, bud. Okay.
That's why. I'll come back later.
Yeah.
No, you're fine.
I was just thinking, half joking that when Delenn mentions a tree is sacred, and it was when Lanier was involved, it was fine. But she seems a little pissed when the tree suddenly becomes John's ex. Joking, but
well, there's also different dynamics, between women and men, and or if you're adding more women to the mix, or if you're adding more guys to the mix, the flavor changes.
But I also think she's also Minbari, and they value the aspect of 3. So, like for Delenn from her side, I could see who's important to her as far as functioning would be Sheridan and her friend Lanier. So, and her, that's like 3. And then maybe from his Earth side, maybe she gets along because it's like Lockley is the third missing part for their team. Obviously not relationship-wise, but as far as getting the job done. So I think Delenn was pissed that such valuable information of importance of the soul was denied to her over something stupid. And I think she feels the same type of anger, but in a different outlook way. But it's like the same type of like, why wouldn't you tell me this? This is important.
Well, and here's the other question too. Ever since Delenn became half human, you have to ask the question: how much of her mental state, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, how much of her mental state is influenced by human genetics, by human DNA? Because the
Or even by
Minbari,
hormone levels, because Minbari
that's
probably
true.
don't have the same hormones that humans do.
She
Exactly.
is more emotional in her behavior since season one, I noticed, since she did the change. Like expressive wise. So I think you're
Yeah.
right, Ambassador, very much.
So and I'm not saying that as a bad thing or by any stretch.
Right, right.
We are obviously, both men and women are alike. We are ruled by our emotions, and those emotions are influenced by a number of factors and a number of influencers. And if you think about it, for someone like Delenn, who is carrying such a weight on her shoulders, she's co-head of the Rangers, or maybe at this point she's main head of the Rangers, being John is president of the Interstellar Alliance, and also you've got the issue of she probably still beats herself up a little bit for the whole issue with Anna. So I'm just wondering, once she gets this bomb dropped on her about the fact that John and Lockley were at one point together, how much did that play on her? Play on her mental state, play on her emotional state. So, anyways, guys, your thoughts?
I honestly think Delenn wasn't so much pissed that had been married. It's that he hadn't told her.
Well, yeah, I
Completely
guess
out
all
of
those
character with
Minbari
all Delenn
marriage
has done
rights.
before.
Yeah, like I guess he didn't quite. Maybe he should have come clean a little bit more thoroughly. That way, Anna was the really only big unpleasant surprise. Like, oopsie.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that was more on Delenn and Kosh's end more so than his, because that
Yeah,
was the bomb they dropped on him, not vice versa.
yeah.
Mm.
But they didn't. Honestly, I bet they didn't even figure that the Shadows would take her out of a ship and be like, we're gonna about to give you a present." And then Dr. Franklin has to give the bad news, like, yeah, whatever made your wife tick is gone. The memories are there, but the personality behind it is bye-bye.
Dang.
It's like,
Yeah.
oopsie. But
Although
no,
to be,
Go ahead.
I just want to say, because that's probably my favorite aspect of this episode. It does dive deeper into the Ranger angle, so that way, when the Day of the Dead pops up and Lanier's front and center again, his conversations with Morden will be much more ouch.
Mm.
Very true.
Yeah, I forgot about that episode.
Yep.
Remember, guys and gals, I never got a chance to watch season 5 all the way through from start to finish. So
Oh wow.
this is going to be fresh. Some of these episodes is going to be a fresh take on my part. So, but I will say this. I honestly don't recall if I ever watched this episode before, but I very much did enjoy it. And like I said, the aspects of this episode that they hit on with the training of the Rangers and the whole issue of who's really in charge of B5, and you've got the criminal element learning that, well, things have changed. You've got a very hard-nosed head of security, and you've got an even more hard-nosed commander. I'm not, now don't get me wrong, John Sheridan was no nonsense. He cracked down on crime on B5 hard, and he had the people to do it.
But then they had to use some of those same Black Channel aspects to smuggle supplies to the station.
Yeah, and unless I'm wrong, was it one of the people that Ivanova negotiated with, a part of Trace's gang? The one guy that had the shaved hair, but it was
Yeah,
like bald,
and she's like,
blonde
"Oh,
stubble.
yep," and she's like, "Oh, yes, there will be benefits though if you do help us. Like they'll prepare their ships and things." But Ivanova was also saying, like, "Oh yes, if you step out of line, we do have these lovely cannons that can take care of all your issues."
Well, that is, and I'm not okay. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because considering how things are going right now in the world, I don't want to potentially cause any more trouble. But I will say this: it would be Ivanova to kind of negotiate at the barrel of a gun
So
because
Russian.
that's how she ticks. That's damn it, Koj! I'm trying not to get us in trouble here.
No. I'm quoting Ivanova. She's the one who says it, not me.
Ivanova has a Wild West interpretation of many things. Like, there we go.
Anyway, yeah, but anyway, okay, we're still alive, so yay.
Yeah. As far as I can see that little red number up in the corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
as can I. So, well, guys, anything else about this episode that you want to hit on?
I really love seeing the was it Emperor the Emperor of Centauri Prime recast as one of the Minbari. It's nice seeing him.
Oh, that's
Yes.
right, because
Yeah,
he was
Torval.
He's the one with the story of the flower, and I like it because
oh my
he had the
gosh,
same peaceful energy as his other character too. You know,
oh my
just like we see
freaking gosh, how
Nehruin
the
as a
hell did I
human.
miss that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the same energy, but it's nice seeing him come back again because we even see was it in the beginning, Ivanova's uncle Yosso, he plays him in Bari in
Oh
in
yeah,
the beginning. So I like seeing these characters return and play different characters, but of the same nurturing spirit. Like even Moran was played by freaking Byron in the beginning, and they kind of had
Drake.
that same angst.
Yeah.
I think originally, sorry,
No, go ahead, Lisa. You're good, bud. Go ahead.
Bay, the guy who played him. Oh, sorry, I was cutting out there. He tried out for the position of Lando initially, but he didn't get the part, and they really loved the actress, so they wanted to bring him back when they could. But
That makes sense. Because I said before, I worked with the casting director of Babylon 5, Fern Champion, and she's fantastic. She loves good actors, and if there's an actor that doesn't get a job or doesn't get booked for a role, she likes to keep him in her mind, in her little network, to call upon him again if there's another role for them, because she's like, I really love the energy they bring. So I give props to her. She's very encouraging at that, and I love seeing the recurring people because all the work she's done. She even casted for Mortal Kombat. That's why we see some Mortal Kombat people in Babylon 5 here and there, because this is in the 90s.
Yeah,
around the same era.
particularly.
Oh.
Yeah, we do not speak of Mortal Kombat 2021. It doesn't exist, as I was
No,
saying
that doesn't
earlier.
exist. That was booty. I'm offended by that.
Even though they're supposedly doing a sequel, I'm like, why?
I don't care. It's down there with Mortal
why,
Kombat
why,
Annihilation. There's only
why?
one Mortal Kombat and one.
One other thing to note,
miniseries.
though, about Mr. Turval there, he actually passed on observations about how Lanier's doing to Delenn for, because she was worried, because apparently she had got reports that Lanier was like overextending himself a fair amount. So this is kind of like the precursor to what will pop up later in the rest of Lanier's time as a ranger, and
That's
it makes
true.
Morden's bits of advice and insight to Lanier even more heart-wrenching, because Lanier doesn't want to betray the Ranger Order, but he will because his heart is in conflict.
And he's running away from his heart. I think that's the main thing. He's like, it's like, well, we'll see that episode later, but I think Lanier's intentions are true, but his center, he's running away from what he needs to face, which these Rangers, it seems like they don't have that problem, but they are facing what Lanier is avoiding. And I think that's why Lanier can't be in this, because if he was in either one of these guys' shoes, that would make him face the thing he has to face, which he's running from, until it's too late.
Well, yeah, but he's also running from what Morden's saying too. Like Lanier actually remarks to him in that episode something to the effect of like, "I'm not listening to you. Like I'm going to ignore you the rest of the night." And then like Morden brings up the newspaper. "Fine, suit yourself. I'm already dead, so what does it matter?"
But I think that's important because it's like Lanier's what he's running from. If he avoids it, turns dark and evil. So in a way that I think he needs to face it instead of run from it. So the fact that he's not facing Morden, even just to talk, even though it means no harm, I think is a very poetic gesture to show that he's still running away and not facing things.
In some ways, the opposite to Marcus, because they did mention Marcus is exactly the same. He joined up to his fears and didn't let
That's
it ruin
true.
him. Lanier just went full, "No, I am above you," when he was speaking. That isn't 1 or 2 episodes time. When he looks at Morden, "No, I am above you. I am better than you. You have nothing to say to me." Where Marcus would have probably talked Morden into going, "Okay, I'm going. Marcus would have done the opposite. He'd have talked Morden into leaving. Then
he would probably have some more witty banter too. I kind of like that.
Probably. Well, I will say this of Ed Vosser, who played Mr. Morden. He was a very slimy individual, but he grew on you like mold.
And honestly, the Day of the Dead thing, like Morden had no reason to lie to Lanier because he's already dead. It kind of makes me wish that we had seen a bit of Sheridan and Kosh with that episode, but I'm trying to remember if Sheridan and Delenn got caught in the side of the Day of the Dead area.
They were outside of it because there was a lower sector.
Right, because Kosh gave a message to somebody else and then they gave that to Sheridan or something.
That was Lockley's friend.
Yeah.
That was Lockley's
where we learned some of the reason why her and Garibaldi are so alike.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, even though it takes place a couple episodes from now, that was honestly the episode that made me, understand a little bit more where Lockley came from and like what Earth Force actually, basically saved her from.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we had that earlier on. I kind of wanted people to fall in love with Lockley sooner and more, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I do understand that.
So. Well, again, if Crusade had its proper run, we probably would have gotten a lot more of Lockley helping out, the Crusade crew.
Right?
Oh. If somebody that's a part of this council would give a certain reboot a chance, you might actually get that. Hello.
Nope. I'm still standing by my principles. I'm not going to hate watch any kind of reskins. Nope.
Shuffle with your principles.
She's on the shop.
Your principles mean nothing. Your principles mean nothing here, Fiona Wolf.
No, I would have been more content if they actually had done a continuation and not a reboot. I don't have much faith in reboots nowadays.
Amen, sister.
Blah, blah, blah.
Just saying, but you have to have a contrary voice to whatever else is going on. It gives variety.
Honestly, I'm on the fence, but I lean more to Fiona.
I think I've said it before. I'm looking at the new reboot as a retelling. I say that the episode, Deconstruction of Falling Stars, is a nexus where the
a parallel universe
will tell as a Gnostic gospel. Not so much a parallel universe as it's like a Gnostic gospel. If you like the retelling or the reboot, you can say, "No, this is my new gospel." Whereas if you dislike it, you can say it's a Gnostic gospel that ended up on Brother Malcolm's shelf, Brother Alwyn's shelf, and you can put it aside, but you can still give it a chance and still look at it within the same universe and still make it add to the universe we already have. I mean, I'm happy with the universe.
So in a way,
reboot,
it's like this new reboot is like the sorry.
It's in. It's just
Oh.
internet lines crossing. Whee! It's
So
okay.
it's like a telling of a story based off of the truth, which is the original.
Yes, I mean, look at it that way. That it's the four Gospels in the Bible. They tell it from different perspectives. This is set 1,000 years, like deconstruct. Brother Alwyn is 1,000, where you've had the Great Burn. So the stories have become myths. So it can weave its way through in whatever. So you can take your own truth from it without detracting. You can like the new and hate the old, like the old hate the new, or love them both.
Exactly. So, and I want to send a shout out to the chat to a very old, very good friend of the channel, Jason P. Preston of Polyhedral Paradise. My friend, it is good to see you and good evening to you as well. And folks, Polyhedral, Jason, he has a great channel as well, especially if you are a hardcore role player, a big D&D fan. Jason has a great channel where he discusses all of that. He does a little bit of it on his channel. So if you love talking Dungeons and Dragons, if you love talking role playing, the clean kind, go check out Polyhedral Paradise. You will not; it will be well worth your time. So, and again, Jason, good to see you, bud. Appreciate you stopping by this evening. So,
Nice.
well, folks, I think you're welcome, bud. Anytime, absolutely. So, well, folks, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap up for the evening. But I want to thank you all for tuning in today. And of course, for those of you that will catch us on the replay, make sure you leave your comments down below in the comments section. That's what it's there for, on anything that we discussed, anything that we may have missed, or just pop in and say hi in the comments section. And if you come across this stream and you enjoyed the discussion and you're not a part of the ambassadorial wing, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because there's always room for another ambassador here in the ambassadorial wing. So, anyways, folks, I will see you all later this weekend. We will see you all next Friday. And until next time, this is the Council of One saying, in 3, 2, 1. Zooty,
Zooty,
zoot, 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 zoot,
Yeah! Yes!
zoot.
Zooty!
Good night, everybody.
Zoot!